fate is before you. Choose wisely. Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician.
Like I work in finance. God bless, no, this not by chance. Don't dab me, you're not my man. Don't at me, you're not my man. Mama said don't buy it if you cannot buy it twice. I cop by the tools and I don't pump fake with the price. Always on the grind, I put in work with all my might. I know that he got me, not by sight. I skirt I vanish, I slide I land this. All black like that. Sit 4 days, that's for sure though. Grinding from the grip, no shame, take a photo. Time to take a trip, we head north to the border. Say you filling up, I'm my favorite type of hoarder. I got kids to feed, I got enemies, I got God's gift, so they envy me. Got some friends out in Memphis like I'm Aubrey. Got some friends fought for orange like some autumn leaves. I skirt I vanish, I slide I land this. Beats are ranging, all black like Batman. I skirt I vanish, I slide I land this. Beats are ranging, all black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah. Why check cash roll, yeah, I need my ass. Why check cash roll, yeah, I need my money line. Why check cash roll, yeah, I need my money line. Why check cash roll, yeah, I need my money line. Watch out for those suits around, you need no funny kind. You can't see what's on my brain, I live inside my mind. Out of space and out of sight, you need me in my line. Need no face, don't need no phonies, no. Need no snakes, no only homies down for show. On go. Get a book and get the front and we load up and roll. I got kids, yeah, I got staff, I make a little need more. I sell records, you sell packs, not on my level, no. I'm a pop star, I'm a rock star, I'm a winner. Think I'm not hard, you smoke rock, car waste, man, why you dumb? I'm with airline, we on airlines like we on the run. I'm with take girls run up on me, they done. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah. Why check cash roll, yeah, I need my ass. Why check cash roll, yeah, I need my money line. Why check cash roll, yeah, I need my money line. Why check cash roll, yeah, I need my.
Marjorie, oh Marjorie. Yeah. Every time I come around you, baby girl, something doesn't feel the same. You said that I'm changing, but it's really you. I see how you play those games. Wifey type for a maid man. A queen can make moves, a king can't. Set you up, now you taking. Gave you bricks, now you building a wall up, wall up. Lately you and I've been all love, all love. I don't know what's up with our love, our love. You forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie, where are you? When I need you the most, you still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something, now you talking. Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. My jolie, oh my jolie. You don't turn on me now, you don't get no time for me now, babe. Got him on a rebound, but it's only you that I like, babe. Tout ce que j'ai fait c'était pour toi. Sur le haut parle mais t'écoutes pas. Tu me vois crever mais tu bouges pas. Pourquoi? Whoa, you're wall up, wall up. You can't even get the scars up for us. I don't know what's up with our love, our love. You're forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie, where you been? When I need you the most, you still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. This is not your bluffing, made you something, now you talking. I call you bluff. You telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. Girl, you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something, now you talking. You telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Cool it off. I don't know how to cool it off. My jolie, oh my jolie.
I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Hold you down till you dry. Hold you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grabbed my hand, gave me the notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Hold you down till you dry. Hold you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I was sipping more for 2 years straight to the face. Champagne belly bubble still won't go away. Last year my best man hit a stain with bad face. Now he's got a hell behind the water's cold case. I wake up with pain sometime and never go away. Wonder why I bow to my knees when I pray. In my city gritty, gotta keep it on your waist. Or you might be a victim, they'll find you DOA. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Hold you down till you dry. Hold you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you.
All right, greetings, everyone. We're going to have a very good show today as we commemorate the life and death of Kevin Samuels, more or less. But what can we learn about Kevin Samuels' untimely death and how his death, or perhaps some dark spots in his life, could have prevented his untimely death? We're going to be talking about a myriad of different things around that particular topic. We're going to be talking about male health after 50. We're going to be talking about YouTube, how YouTube can be a vice or a virtue. But also, we're going to be talking about the conspiracy surrounding the life and death of Kevin Samuels. Get your pens and paper ready. We're going to have a Fire Fest show tonight with my special guest, Gene Davis. Let's do it. Bringing it to you live once again from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green, where every day is Father's Day, and where manhood is part of hills and valleys, victories and failures, and whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause, only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. But before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bro, I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear anything you said.
Man, you know what, man? I apologize, man. I was talking for
That's all
14.
right.
Everybody probably was telling me they couldn't hear me. I apologize, guys. But I got my man Gene Davis on. And basically what I was saying, guys, and I apologize once again, is this. We're going to talk about how the plant Feed Me, this light, and the Little Shop of Horrors, we become so encapsulated by our desire to be successful that sometimes our pursuits of being successful can become our enemy. That enemy many times can look like a rest, like a sleep, like an exercise. And also the news that's circling around the untimely demise of Kevin Samuels, did Red Bull play a role in his death? Was Kevin Samuels a type of black messiah? We're going to look at all these more or less current trends surrounding his life and death, and how in the pursuits of being successful as men, we must take the time to focus on our health. Because guess what? Your health is your wealth. Because after your health is gone, nothing else matters. The money doesn't mean anything. The status doesn't mean anything. The power doesn't mean anything. And Gene Davis and I are going to look at it from a biopsychosocial spiritual model, the biology, why men should take care of their bodies, and the trace supplements and minerals we need to take, but also the importance of water, rest, sleep, and also the importance of removing toxic people in our lives to help us become the better versions of ourselves. Gene Davis, tell the audience who you are, brother, as we talk about the Manhood Chronicles and why health and is part of the new wealth, in your opinion.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my name is Gene Davis. So I have a long history when it comes to being involved with health. I mean, I spent 24 years in the pharmaceutical industry, where I made sterile antibiotics and homeopathic drugs. My whole family, I have 2 sisters that are RNs. My ex-wife is a doctor. I mean, I've been involved with health for a very, very long time. Currently, I'm independent personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer since 2012. And I occupy a completely different lane of personal training than what most people do. So most people are interested in fitness from purely an aesthetic standpoint. But what you will find once you get to a certain level in training, and what I mean by that is like dealing with a certain clientele, it's like this company, this clothing company, men's clothing company called Sims, they used to say, they had a saying where they would say, an educated consumer is our best customer.
Right.
That is true in personal training. And this is why. So like most people think that, how they look, which is what they're mostly focused on, the average person, is going to come from what they do in the gym. And that's just not true. 80% of how you look is based on how you eat, how you hydrate, how you sleep, how you manage your stress, and what you do in the gym is 20% of that. But what you do in the gym plays a huge part in how you function, your mobility, your flexibility, your range of motion, how well your brain communicates with your nervous system. And no one really, people don't really train for these things, but when you're at the level that I am, where the clientele that I deal with, this is what they're looking for. They're not coming to me saying, how soon can you get me ripped? Or how, they understand that that's their responsibility in the kitchen and what they put in their body. So, this is a perspective that for a long time, and me and you have talked quite a bit, that I've tried to bring to our community, because we just kind of focus on, even when they talk about being the best version of yourself, it's always like, go to the gym to look your best.
Right.
What about perform your best? What about, having your body and your brain synchronized on a level where you function better? What about, your coordination, your flexibility, your mobility? All these things are important because, accidents happen in life, and the better able you are to organize yourself, the less prone to injury you are. The more you address imbalances in your body, the less prone to injury you are. So, there's a whole nother world out there related to fitness that 99.9% of people don't even know about. And when you're talking about like high value man, when I hear this, I'm like, okay, all of that stuff is great, but the fitness and health aspect of it is lagging way behind where the science is.
Right.
So my goal and my guilt has been that, I've been bringing this to other communities, since 2012. But, this year is the first year I started to get like Black clients, and they're all women. I don't have any male Black clients. So it's like, I would love to find a way to bring this perspective, this higher level of thinking when it comes to health and fitness that is everywhere but our community.
Yes, and sadly, Gene, I agree with you 1,000%. Shout out to my man, Moonwalker 84 for that $2 super sticker. Thank you, sir. And to the 37 that are watching, thank you guys for tuning in on tonight as you use your time to come in and listen to the Manhood Chronicles as we talk about the untimely death of Kevin Samuels, but also where there's some things that Kevin could have done to prevent his untimely death. I'm going to say this once again, allegedly. We're going to do it based on speculation. I don't know, because you have to be very careful what you say in these spaces, because people will take what you say and run with it and say he said this and I'm not saying anything. But the question remains, or one could more or less presume, because Kevin was such a visionary, did he work himself to an early grave by not taking care of himself with proper hydration? I remember a couple of times watching Kevin's show, and he said the doctor told him, he said, you need to leave those Red Bulls alone. Gene, you reached out to Kevin in the past. I'm going to show the receipts where you reach out to him, and you was talking to him about drinking, I believe it was Celsius water, right? Celsius water, right? Whatever you call it.
Well, Celsius is a pre-workout that is a lot healthier in my perspective than Red Bull, and so I recommended that to him. Mm-hmm. He never really responded to me. I reached out to him on Facebook. I reached out to him on IG. I don't have, like I told you, I don't have access to my old Facebook, so that receipt I don't have, but I sent you the one from IG.
Yeah. And I'm going to show it to the audience in a minute. But in the meantime, to the 35 that are watching, guys, share the content if you have not already done so. I need at least 5 to 10 people to share this content as we seek to form a more perfect union, as we seek to understand the importance of mental health and physical health, because, as I said earlier, there are 7 steps that a man must go do in order to become optimized. Male mental and physical health, actually, when they are synchronized, helps a man become the better version of himself. YouTube is very challenging. It's very time consuming. As content creators, when we sit down in these chairs, especially tall men like myself, because I'm 6'5", it can be very damaging, not only to your mind, but also to your physical health, because your body is not getting blood circulation. Normally in my office, when I work with clients, I stand up because it helps the blood circulate, but also what it does, it reduces the risk of being sedentary. Many content creators, if you watch them, some of the men now, they begin to get visceral fat around their belly. And that visceral fat can be very dangerous as it relates to disease. So guys, we always talk about money, but once again, as Gene and I are going to explore, your health is actually in your wealth, because you can make a lot of money, but if your health is very bad, then guess what? You're going to be using that money to get your health back. I'd rather have my health intact than to have millions of dollars in the bank, because at the end of the day, none of the money that you make, you're not going to take it with you in the first place. You're not going to take that money with you in the afterlife. So focus on your health and use your time to empower other men and women. And, Gene, we know that there's a crisis in heteronormative masculinity, not only with Black men, but white men as well. And we're going to use, or more or less be clarion callers as it relates to helping men become better versions of themselves, not only from the physical aspect, but also from the mental. Gene, I want to talk about the importance of alkaline water. You're a physical fitness guru, and how can alkaline water help with the salubrity of men? But before you answer that question, let me pull up that receipt that you had, and we're gonna read it together. Hold tight. Give me 1 minute. And then we're going to ask you a couple of questions, Gene. What Kevin Samuels meant to you. You and I talked about Kevin often in the past, and how phenomenal, how brilliant he was in so many ways. And we're going to talk about that. Hold tight. All right. So, Gene, tell the audience your age, man. Many won't believe your age, but if you feel comfortable, tell the audience your age, man. He popped off. All right. Gene will be popping back on in a minute, guys. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about the health and also the life and death for Kevin Samuels. So we're going to ask ourselves the question, as it has been speculated, that perhaps Kevin have, or more or less consumed, too many of those nasty Red Bulls. That Kevin consumed too many of those nasty Red Bulls. And that those Red Bulls lead to his untimely demise. As I said earlier, many of you guys that are listening, some of you guys are content creators. As content creators, sitting down for hours and hours and hours at a time and not getting the proper circulation, many times can be very deleterious or dangerous to your long-term mental and physical health. But as you know, and I know, as I said earlier, Kevin was a stalwart. He was a man to work hard, like so many of us, because men by nature are doers. Men by nature want to win. But sometimes, once again, in the pursuits of winning, it can lead us in a very negative state. Hold tight, Gene. Let me see if I can find that link that you sent me. Hold tight. I don't know if it's a video file. Hold tight. But tell the audience your age, brother, and your health regimen, and how you take care of yourself with meat, water, the types of meats you eat, and all.
Oh, okay. I'll be 58 in July. Yeah, and I mean, I really relate to what you were saying about, the whole work thing. And I saw this in Kevin because, when I was in the pharmaceutical industry, I worked like, 60-hour weeks. I was a basketball referee. I was putting in like probably at least 15 hours a week doing that, 15 to 20 hours a week. My ex-wife was practicing up in Massachusetts. I was driving 3 hours one way, 6 hours over the weekend to hang out with her. So I've been there. I've been there where you're exhausted all the time. I've been there where like you're falling asleep when you sit down, you fall asleep at movies, you fall asleep if you're watching TV, just exhausted. I've experienced all of that. But now, and I knew I needed to make a change in my life. So when I became a trainer, and it was all a process, bro. It was like me learning over time.
Right.
So there's a book called Deep Nutrition, and I really subscribe to this book as far as what it talks about when it comes to eating. Like we've really been misled on what's healthy eating. Most people think that healthy eating is like low fat this and low fat that, but it's not. If you look through the history of man, like the thing that humans prioritized in their diet was meat, period. And fatty meat and organs and, not the whole, like now we prioritize the cutlets of fish, the meat that's not attached to the bone. That is the least nutritious thing that you could eat from an animal. It starts with the blood, which I'm not into eating blood, but some people do. Then it goes to the organs, then the meat cooked on the bone, and then the meat cooked off the bone. So I eat a lot of pasture-raised pork, grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish. I eat a lot of fermented vegetables. I eat a lot of honey, a lot of fruit. I eat some green vegetables. I don't eat a whole lot of rice or pasta. I eat it on occasion. Like I had some pasta last night.
Right.
But for the most part, and then I avoid like sugary drinks and stuff like that. I drink a lot of water. Water is, our bodies are 70% water. Like if you don't, and I'm going to get into that later, like how this all relates to what we're talking about with Red Bull and heart health and all of that. But and these changes in my diet have, like my health is fantastic, bro. Like I'm 58 years old. I'm super strong. I have endurance. I have flexibility. I have mobility. I'm super coordinated. When I drop stuff, I catch it 7 out of 10 times. I catch it before it hits the ground. That sounds like ridiculous, but anybody who knows me will tell you that that's true. All my friends that I grew up with and trained with, none of them can train with me now. They can't. Like I will destroy them. Like they're like little children in the gym to me, and a lot of it has to do with not the way that I eat, but also the way that I train. And that's the part that both parts, when you combine them, is just something very different from what 99% of people who show up in the gym and think that they're doing something. And they are, if they want to look good. It depends on your goal. But if you want to optimize your health and your ability to perform physically and mentally as a human being, there's a different way to do it. a better, and I have no problem saying it's a better way to do it.
Right, right. It is a better way to do it. You know, when you look at the life, but also the untimely death of Kevin Samuels, what were some of the things that more or less germinated in your mind when you would see Kevin sitting for long periods of time in those seats? Because Kevin actually did IG and also YouTube. And what were some of the things that ran through your mind when you would see the amount of time that he put in? He was a visionary and a very hard worker.
Yeah. Well, the thing that went through my mind, because, you know, first of all, that whole hardcore work ethic, I saw, I know what that's about. I did that myself, and I know how detrimental it is. But watching him drink those Red Bulls, so again, I don't know that this is what it was, but I will tell you my background as far as this goes. So when I was younger, like in my mid to late 20s, early 30s, I knew a lot of guys who, like, that's when Red Bull became popular. And I was training in a bodybuilding and powerlifting gym, even though I was neither, but that's what most of the guys were. And I'm talking about high level, like guys that were in Men in Fitness, they're in all the powerlifting magazines and whatnot. You know, these were the guys I was training around, and a lot of these guys were bouncers on the weekend, and in clubs, and they would drink Red Bull like crazy. Even in those clubs, they would make drinks out of Red Bull. I think someone told me recently they still do it.
Right.
But you know, I've known several guys in their mid to late 20s, early 30s to have had heart attacks. You know, and they drank all this, you know, they constantly drank Red Bull. So I would sit there and watch Kevin drinking these Red Bulls. And then it's the other thing, like, and we talked about this, and he mentioned that he didn't drink much water.
Right.
So this is the thing. And again, people, you know, this is not something that is talked about. But when you don't drink water and you dehydrate your body, what that does is that it elevates the viscosity of your blood. So your blood becomes thicker because there's not as much water in your system.
Right.
So your heart has to work harder to pump that blood.
Right.
So your heart is working harder, and then you're drinking something that has been known to not be good for your heart to begin with, combined with all the hours of sitting, very little sleep, and high stress levels. I mean, that is literally a recipe for a heart attack. And when you're talking about a guy in his 50s who is working like that, I mean, I heard Kevin's best friend, this guy Jeff, said that, you know, Kevin was working like, you know, crazy, like 18 hours a day and stuff like that. Like, nobody, you know, if you're working like that, and don't get me wrong, like I've trained people who work like that, but they are all on top of their health. They're drinking their water. They're eating healthy. They're managing their stress. You know, they're making sure the sleep they get is quality sleep. And you know, some people are just built for that. But that lifestyle combined with, you know, the lack of water, the high stress, the prolonged sitting, and this is what people don't understand about sitting. Right. So there are studies that show they can look at how long you sit every day. 3 things: how long you sit every day, your ability to get up and off the ground, and your grip strength. So people go in the gym and they do all this stuff, all this lifting, right? And they use straps to help them lift heavier weight than they can lift without the straps, which means you're not challenging your grip as much as you can. But your grip strength, your ability to get up and off the ground, and how long you spend sitting, they can pretty much estimate how long you're going to live. You know, they can estimate how long you're going to live. So that right there tells you how important these things are. I mean, there's nothing I can say that exceeds that.
Gene, hold your point, brother. Thank you for that excellent expose. Shout out to my man James Turner for that $10 super sticker. Thank you, James Turner, for the $10 cash app. And that is a deal, right? Thank you, James Turner, for that $10 cash app. Thank you, sir. And also thank you for Moonwalker again. He said the annual checkups with full-blown physical blood tests, advanced lipid tests, blood pressure, cholesterol, and performative maintenance is everything. Yes, sir. And you know, Gene, just like the little plant or the shop of horror called Feed Me, Seymore had a penchant for blood.
That
But
was funny.
also, but also Seymore had a strong penchant for power. Do you feel that sometimes, Gene, in the pursuit of masculinity, sometimes we can let our desires derail our long-term health? Some would say, lust for power and money. It's something we all struggle with, even myself. But sometimes if we're not careful, Gene, can we become victims of our own success? What's your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. But you know what? The thing is that there are people who do it for the reasons that you say that they do it. And like, again, being in the business that I'm in, I get to see all types of successful people. But some people are just wired that way, bro.
Right,
like some
right,
people.
right.
So, and I'm not saying that Kevin was. I mean, he was obviously wired to work hard. But some people for instance, myself, I can sleep like 4 or 5 hours and I'm fine, but I sleep so deep that it's like I don't even exist.
Right.
So my sleep is on a different level than most people. Like when I close my eyes, I don't exist until I open them again.
Right.
But so everyone, that's different for everyone. But some people don't need a lot of sleep and they can work long hours and all of this. But most people, the vast majority of us, are not built that way.
Right.
And most of the people that are doing that are not optimizing their health to give themselves the opportunity for the best outcomes. I mean, from what I saw of him, he wasn't, like he said, if you watch a 3-hour live stream and he's drinking Red Bull the whole 3 hours, like that's just a reality. That's not, I love the guy. I think he did a phenomenal job while he was here, and
he did.
He brought a lot of value to the discussion. But as you will see in that DM I sent him, I was very concerned for his health,
right?
Because I knew the path he was on. Like whether anyone else, knew it, and I'm sure other people did too, because none of this stuff is a secret. Like, it's just whether or not you're privy to the information, but the information is out there. You can't do, you can't live that life without. You're either going to pay sooner or you're going to pay later, but you're going to pay.
Right, and you definitely pay it at a latter age, man. Like I said, the desire and the pursuit for competition sometimes can be our greatest nemesis. I'm not going to work myself in the grave. I love content creation. To the men that are listening, I love you. But content creation is extremely hard. You guys don't understand how much time that I and other content creators put in giving you quality content, trying to come up with topics, trying to make the topics become synchronized, trying to make the topic pop, and also keeping the audience engaged. It's a Herculean effort. It's a lot of work. And that's why I tell you guys to share the content when you don't donate. I understand that we're living, might be in a recession, but that's why I tell people to donate. Donate money or donate your time by sharing the content.
Time is money.
Yes, sir. To the 57 that are watching, I need at least 5 people to share this content to other young men and women, because I want you guys to live as long as you can. But Gene, I had to take a seat back this week because I worked so much, and I realized I was working my body down. And Kevin's untimely death actually was extremely draining for me. As you know, I lost my sister about 2 months ago. So it's like a whirlstorm of things hitting me all at one point. And even when I cover his death, it was extremely draining. And so I'm telling the young men, get your rest, get your water, get your trace minerals. Gene, let's talk about testosterone levels, man. Testosterone levels begin to drop for men at a certain age, but there's a way that we can keep that testosterone levels normal by getting sunlight, getting vitamin D, getting rest, getting that deep sleep that you were talking about, eating certain cuts of meat, ashwagandha, black maca root. It's a natural way to build your testosterone. Zinc perchelonate is a more stronger form of zinc, magnesium, and a lot of other trace minerals. But you lift a lot of heavy weights. How have those heavy weights help you keep your core?
It's not so much about heavy weight.
Hold tight, let me finish. How is, not just heavy weights, just any form of exercise, in your opinion, being a fitness expert, How's those things help you, keep your weight intact? Not weight intact, but
Okay.
keep
Okay.
your testosterone levels stable. Go ahead.
Great question. So when it comes to lifting, and testosterone levels, first of all, the best thing you can do when it comes to your testosterone levels is to not do the things that's going to cause them to drop in the first place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so one of the big problems that we have now, and this is not even just with men, like if you look at when they look at teenagers, like there's a lot of teenagers who suffer from like erectile dysfunction and low testosterone. And the reason being is because they've been eating food cooked in plastic in microwaves. And there's a substance in some plastics that it gets into the food. And
Right.
when you eat it, it gets into, I think it's BTI.
BTH, BHT.
Yeah.
They call it like they call it phytoestrogen. A lot of times the phytoestrogen can get in your food too. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. And so and it never leaves your body. There's no way to get it out of your tissues once it's in there. Mm-hmm. And so like not microwaving food in plastic is one of the best things you can do. But when it comes to lifting, and this is really important because most guys avoid like the squat rack. They avoid heavy lifting, heavy squats, heavy deadlifts. But if you're talking about your testosterone and the production of growth hormone, nothing creates that like heavy lower body exercises. You see all these guys walking around with these jacked upper bodies and these little chicken legs, which really that person isn't even really real life strong.
Right.
Because we produce force and power, strength from the ground. Our feet have to be on the ground and we drive from the ground. And without that, you are not you're not producing any real strength and power. So if you got these little chicken legs, I don't care if you can bench press 500 pounds. If there's a guy who can, squat 300, 350, and he can bench 300 pounds and you can bench 500 pounds, but you never see the squat rack. If you guys run into each other, you guys get into each other on your feet, that guy that can squat 350 is going to crush that dude that can bench 500 because he can't produce no real force or power from the ground. But that is where the hormone production comes from. Mostly is heavy lower body exercises. Right. So you got to use your lower body if you want to produce, testosterone.
Right. That is very true. Very true. Go ahead.
Another health benefit and there's different ways to train. Like people go into the gym and they do all this isolation training, and it's great to look good. But if you want to optimize your health, if you want to optimize how your body functions, if you want to increase your injury prevention, minimize your risk of injury, you need to be doing compound movements. Compound movements that require the entire body to work together. Right. Isolation actually came from those machines were created for rehabilitation when people injure themselves. And they figured out that if you add more weight to these exercises, you can actually build muscle in the 8 to 12 rep range, 8 to 12 reps per set range. Right. Challenging the muscle. But that's what it came from. It's not, all exercise is better than no exercise, but isolation training is an antiquated way to get yourself in shape nowadays. Like the science is conclusive. Like that's not that you don't do those, you get rid of those things or you don't do them, but you need to incorporate some full body exercises. And also you need to load your body. There's 3 planes of motion. People go in the gym and they load their body in one plane, but there's 3. So the up, down, front, back is the sagittal plane. That's the plane that 99.9% of people do all their lifting in. But then you have the frontal plane, which is left to right, lateral movement, and you have the transverse plane, which is rotation, which we have to do just to walk. We rotate at our thoracic spine and our hips. So if you want to optimize your body, you need to load all 3 planes of motion. 99% of people only load one plane of motion. It's insufficient for what we need if we want to be the best version of ourselves physically.
Right. Hold your point, G. Excellent expose, because you definitely added a lot of clarity for that. And what you just told the audience was fire for your mind, the culture, tradition. Gene just dropped no doubt that Leo swag, dog. Gene just dropped some fire for your mind. But BJ, the hitman, said additionally, Kevin did his own video editing, light setups, camera setups, travel focus groups, personal consults, audio quality, interact with clients all over the world. And listen, he's right. I'm a one-man show. And I apologize to you guys earlier. Many times we don't get any help. We're doing it all. We're the tech guy, with the lights, with the camera, with the action, with the sound, audio. I do all my editing. I do it all. And trying to be a therapist. That's why I tell you guys to always support the streams as you normally do. And I appreciate it. But also share the content, because content creation is draining. It's extremely draining. Do I love doing it to see young men liberated? Yes, of all ethnic groups. But can content creation be draining? Yes, it's draining, and it's very time consuming. And if you don't believe me, try it.
Why you think I haven't done it? Watching you do it.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I haven't started one, because it's a lot, man. I got a lot going on.
Right.
And I like my time.
Right. Hold tight. Let me read you some of these comments. Latoria said that good health for all of us. Of course, however, as an African-American woman that cares Black men taking care of their health is a great thing. I share with my sons and fathers, no doubt. Marcus McLeod said that that's why obesity and heart disease is so bad for the Black community, correct? Seattle, the Black veteran said, Kevin said YouTube is a job. So you're right, Coach, no doubt. Type 2 diabetes here, and I rely on insulin. I would like to control it with diet. I need to hear this, no doubt, brother. And
I want to make a comment to Wolfbane.
Yeah, you can. Hold tight, Gene. I'll let you go. Give me a minute, brother. Yeah. Shout out to my man Top Gun. He said that just because Boston won,
that's a bet, right?
And that is a deal,
right? That's
go ahead, Gene.
Right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's
you're listening.
Right?
There's a supplement called berberine, and this supplement has been clinically proven to lower your blood sugar. The recommended dosage is about 1,500 milligrams a day, but there are people like I can't say insulin diabetics, but there are people that have been on things like metformin, and they've gotten off of metformin taking berberine. It's amazing. You got to try it. But like I said, you're gonna find supplements that are like 500 or 1,000, but you need to take steady, like 1,500 milligrams a day, and I guarantee you your blood sugar will drop. But get a quality brand. Like, do your research, go on Amazon, read the reviews, and get something that's really good. I know of a few. I actually take berberine myself. So
it's called what?
Stuff.
Berberine?
Berberine is called.
How do you spell it?
B-E-R-B-E-R-I-N. B-E-R-B-E-R-I-N. You know what? Hold on one second. I'm gonna grab my bottle and show it to you.
Berberine. I see.
Yeah, but I'm gonna show you the bottle so that maybe the guy can see it and he'll.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna show somebody a picture of it. Hold tight, if I can share it. Hold tight. Give me 1 minute. Berberine. So you can see, guys, we're trying to drop some comprehensive science for you guys tonight. We want to make sure your health is right, including myself. I need to drop about 30 pounds. And okay, yeah, there you go, G. Hold tight. Let me let them see it. And G, you said the berberine is for what now, brother?
It's good, very good at regulating your blood sugar and controlling it.
Okay, cool. Where'd you get that from?
Amazon.
Berberine. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna to check that out. And another thing, guys, cell phones emit blue light. Being in front of a screen, and radiation too, right? Being in front of a screen can emit blue light. And also it can give what's called like a dopamine hit. So when you're on YouTube all the time looking at views, when you're on Facebook looking at views, you can become an addict. As content creators, we can become addicts, looking at algorithms, looking at views, because every time we get views, every time we get likes, every time we get thumbs up, that's a dopamine rush. And so after a while, you become a functioning addict, and you don't even realize it. And you be just like Seymore, you be saying, "Feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me." And sometimes when you say "feed me" so much, eventually feeding that dopamine hit can lead to an untimely death. And
the other thing about that, excuse me, Coach, but I want to add something about the blue light. The other thing about the blue light is that, especially if you look at it, if you're looking at it within hours of bedtime, like we're doing right now, is that it tricks your brain into like thinking that, it's a different time of day, and so you don't sleep. Like when you go to sleep, you don't get into that deep sleep that you normally would, because your brain thinks that it's not nighttime, it's not bedtime. Right. So it's better to if you can get away from the phone or the computer screen or the TV, like 3-4 hours before you go to bed. Right. And that's why a lot of people have trouble. Like they don't realize that they don't sleep good, even if they sleep through the night. They don't, because there's different levels of depth to sleep, and they can measure these levels. And a lot of people, they never really get into a deep sleep, and sometimes it has to do with the fact that they're exposing themselves to the light from computers and phones too early to bedtime, too close to bedtime.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Coach Greg Adams in the chat. Thank you, brother. I'm glad you're watching. And I'm 6'5", Gene 6'6", I'm
6'2", bro. I'm 6'2". I'm not your height.
Right. And we talked about the life and the death of Kevin Samuels, but also how many times many of our men work themselves to death. But before we continue to explore that topic about health and wealth, what did Kevin Samuels mean to you, and how did he confirm a lot of the things that you believed about the modern day Black woman, or not Black women, just women in general?
Wait, say that again?
I said, what did Kevin Samuels mean to you, and what did he confirm to you about modern women of the West?
Well, I mean, to me, honestly, Kevin Samuels was saying a lot of stuff that I was getting attacked for saying on Facebook, years before he said it. It's like, basically what drew me to him was that he spoke exactly the way that, I was raised around. The men in my family, were unapologetically, masculine. Even my mom, who, my mother and father split up when I was 3, but my dad was always around. And my mother was raised by her father. So my grandmother left my grandfather with like 5 kids in Alabama, came here to New York thinking she was gonna do, I don't know, whatever. But since my mother was raised by her dad, and that was her hero, my mother had a reverence for men and respect for men. And that's how she raised me. That's how she raised my brother. I'm the youngest, and my older sisters all respected me and to this day respect me as a man, because that's how they were taught. So all of these things that he was talking about, basically was to bring the Black community back to where it was before feminism, before social welfare, and he was, what I loved about him was that he did it unapologetically, which is how I've always done it. And he didn't, but he's, this guy is on a huge platform, and he is just not backing down. I mean, so many Black men, and this is a huge problem. Like, yeah, we talk about the women, and there are a lot of problems with Black women. You know me. I don't pull punches. I don't hide the fact that that's how I not just how I feel, it's what I know. It's proven, it's documented fact that there's a lot of dysfunction. Our women lead the nation in almost every statistic of dysfunctional behavior. But a lot of what has allowed that to happen is the simpery and the cowardice of black men. I mean, you know, we have too many men with low standards that, well, first of all, they've been raised by their moms and they've been taught to put women on this pedestal for having a vagina, which is ridiculous. And then, you know, they won't speak truth because they're afraid that they won't get sex, which is really stupid, because simps almost never get sex anyway. The same guy who's telling a woman what she wants to hear, thinking he's going to get sex, is the same guy that she has no respect for, because deep down inside she knows that what he's saying is a lie, just like he knows what he's saying is a lie, and she will use him for validation and use him to get her confidence up for the men that she actually is attracted to. I can't tell you how many times I've had women argue me down on Facebook, trying to debate me and stuff. And then the next thing, the same woman that's like, oh, you hate black women, you this, you that, is in my inbox, you know, saying crazy stuff, like sexual stuff. So they don't respect those guys. So like being a simp is a losing proposition all the way around. And I really respected that. Like Kevin did not hide that. That's an obvious, you know, it's observable reality. But for whatever reason, too many black men don't get the memo. Like, you're not going to get sex from simping, and men aren't going to respect you. You're going to lose in every way, shape, and form, and you're not going to respect yourself. So how do you go out into the world and be the best version of yourself when you know that you have no standards?
I agree. Gene, hold tight for a minute, brother. Shout out to my man Gregory Scotland for the $5 cat super sticker on Cash App. Thank you, sir. He said, great show about health. Thank you, sir. Then also shout out to Andrew Baker. And it is a deal, right? Shout out to Andrew Baker. And I'm going to take the time to read his $20 super sticker. I appreciate it, Andrew Baker. Andrew Baker said that salute kosher and guests. Taking care of your health should be the person's first priority. Everything. This is great content or topic for the content or topics you produce is one of the reasons why I love your show. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Andrew Baker. It's people like you, as Gregory Scotland, and many others, that keep me motivated, because as I told you guys in the past, striving to be a licensed therapist and give quality content is extremely time consuming. Many content creators, that's their job. I'm a father, I'm a therapist, and I also do content creation. So D asked a question about my preoccupation with height. So let me say this. Being 6'5" or 6'6", D, many times I'm tall, so I'm constantly sitting down. The taller you are, there could be more issues with your circulation because you're not stretching. And so one of the things that I have to be careful with, being as tall as I am, is that I do the proper stretching, but also I stand up vertically so that my blood can flow. Gene, what's your take on height, but also height and the importance of blood circulation? Because you're tall, you're 6'2", I'm 6'5", 6'6". Why is that so important?
Well, think about it like this. You've heard the saying, a little old man, right? You ever heard the saying, old big man?
Right.
You ever heard that? You don't hear that.
You don't hear it because they're dead.
You don't hear it. Like I'm 6'2", I'm 240. I mean, it's been in my mind, because I didn't get tall until, like, you know, from 18 to 21, I grew to 6'2". But I've noticed that you don't see a lot of big guys who are old. You don't. So it's like, you know, the thing is, the bigger you are, your heart has to pump blood to more places, you know, to further distances in your body. Not only that, the bigger you are, you have more cells. The more cells you have, the more opportunity it is for something to go wrong.
Right.
You know, like life is basically a numbers game. You know, and you know, the more cells you have, the more opportunity it is for, you know, a cell to you know, do something crazy. That's basically what happens with cancer. Is that cells start, you know, doing things that they're not supposed to. The bigger you are, the more cells you have, the more opportunity it is for that to happen. The bigger you are, the more blood, the more muscle you have, the harder your heart has to work. You know, are our hearts designed to do that? Yes, but it's still more work because you're just a bigger person. And this is why you don't see a lot of really old big people. I'm trying to be one of those people who live to an old age,
right?
Being bigger than most people.
Right, right. Same here, man. I got to get this weight down, man. Being as tall as I am, I've gained a little more weight over the years. I was like, I don't know, like 220 in high school, 225 because I played basketball. But being 6'5", 280 is too much weight. I got to get this weight off. And that's why I had to pull back a little bit this week for content creation because it's draining. It's very draining and it's very time consuming. But I got to prioritize my health because Kevin Samuels' untimely death made me think about more about my health. I believe Kevin was 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, he's 6'4".
And me being as tall as I am, man, the health is important. Gene, I want to show the audience a video by Manhood Highlight Daily. And one of the things I love about Coach Greg Adams is this. I love Kevin. I love his work. But the thing I would say that I would disagree this on a small amount as it relates to is modern marriage and relationships. And I understand that his mission was to unify communities and families. But like Mr. Palmer said, and him and I have done shows before in the past, he said, you're going to change the law in your mind. And as a therapist, we talk about something called cognitive restructuring. You have to restructure how you think about thinking. But the thing I love about Coach Greg Adams, he believes in the free agent lifestyle. I tend to believe more in that if I was a single man. I've been married for 26 years. But if I was single again, I don't know if I would be in the office of marriage again, because when you look at the kaleidoscope of the family court, when you look at the kaleidoscope of no-fault divorce, paternity fraud, am I against marriage? No. Do I think marriage is a beautiful institution? Yes. But under the current system, is it dangerous to the mental health and the well-being of a man? I say so. And so that would be the only thing that I would differ with Kevin on is advocating for marriage in these modern times. I understood his reason. I understood his logic. He often talked about prenups, but I don't see the benefit of marriage in modern times because it can be very deleterious to men. What's your take on that? Because Kevin was an advocate for marriage, but when you look at the greater kaleidoscope and the landscape of many modern women, do you think marriage benefits most modern men? Because so many women chide men, Gene Davis, for making $50,000 a year. These women don't really add anything of substance to the relationship. But what's your take on that? Because, I tend to be more of an advocate for men to live their lives on their own terms until the laws of the land change. What's your take on that?
Okay, but I'm going to answer that. But before I answer that, I want to address what BJ the Hitman said. He says that's one of the reasons why tall athletes stretch before and after games. Mm-hmm. But understand that athletes, when they stretch before games, it's a different type of stretching. They're doing what's called a dynamic stretch. Mm-hmm. You don't do static stretches before games, before activity, because it decreases your ability to produce force and power. You do dynamic stretching before games, and then you do static stretching after games. It's the same thing with lifting. That you always do a dynamic stretch before, not a static stretch. And then the static stretching you can do after your activity. Mm-hmm. Okay, but so now I'm gonna address what you said. I totally get where Kevin was coming from, because the thing is this: it's like a catch-22, bro.
It's like a catch-22. I agree.
If you're going to create a strong Black community, then you need marriage and you need families. That's like just historically true, again, regardless of race, regardless of religion, ethnicity, nationality, whatever. You don't have strong communities without strong families, and that's ultimately was his goal. However, at the same time, no one can realistically or accurately debate that there's a high concentration of wives in the Black community. Nobody can. So how do you can't create strong families without wives, and we don't have them. So for men who aren't willing to go outside of this country, and that's for whether you want to go to a country where the women are of color or European, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you're not willing to go outside this country to look for wives, then it's kind of Russian roulette to get married here.
I agree.
It's kind of Russian roulette. And I mean, I'm a single guy. I meet tons of women, bro. I mean, I live in New York City. There's 8 million people. I'm on social media. I'm on 1 or 2 dating apps. It's nonstop. There's so many women out there looking for a relationship, but they have no idea that they're not, you know, like they're not what I'm looking for. I swipe left all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard to come across someone that outside of like looking at them physically looking good. And when you get to a certain age, there's not even that, because I mean, in our community, there's over 80% overweight and obesity rate.
Mm-hmm.
So you get these women who look at you and they see that you take care of yourself and they want to partner with you, but what's in it for me?
Yes, what's in it for you? Right.
What's in it for me? Like, why would I, you know, you look like a grandmother and I don't look, you know, I look old. I mean, I'm not saying I look like I'm 25, but I certainly am not old looking. And a lot of these women are old looking. They didn't take care of themselves. They had a great time. They slept with whoever they wanted to, whatever. But they're not anything to hitch my wagon to.
Right. No, I totally agree, man. And you know, one man said that he said that most marriages now is like Boss Don Dada said that marriage now is a 7 to 8 year run with 2 kids, and he's right. And see, I think that's what many people kept not understanding. You got a lot of women that want the, how can I say, the novelty and the romanticism associated around marriage, but many don't understand the importance of duty. When you tell women about that dirty word obey, many get a schema affliction. They get broken because they don't want to see that man as having any inherent worth. Many come to the relationship seeing themselves and their worth as being more sustainable than the worth of that man. And because of that, many men don't have the accoutrements of a Kevin Samuels. Many men don't have the wealth he has. As I said earlier, I'm not against marriage. In the current culture, in the current time, if I was a single man, I would be more of a free agent lifestyle, focus on myself, my health, my wealth. The only thing that would preclude me for, you know, being out here fornicating a long period of time would be spirituality. That's the only thing. But mine is that I would be single for a long time. I don't, because what I want in a man, as a man, and what I want in a woman, many don't have it. You know, my wife is old school traditional, but a lot of men are not getting meals, sex, and the basics. They got to beg for it. Then you got a chance of losing half of everything you got. So I like what Mr. Palmer said, change the law of your mind, because once you change the law of your mind, the schema affliction that so many men have or begin to have, they're no longer going to have that because they have life outside of the modern woman. That's why I tell men, Gene Davis, it's important to fortify your inner sanctum as a man. I call it the inner sanctum of masculinity. And basically what that means as it relates to kosher in Hebrew is this. In the Levites, the skiva or the skeva, the Levites were agents of the Ark of the Covenant. And many times only those Levites can go as Shekinah symbolize the glory of Yahweh. But see, as men, when you allow a woman to get in your inner sanctum, it can cause you to be in a state of perplexity, but also can cause you to be in a state of trial and trouble. Ask Delilah. Ask other great kings like Solomon and many other men. They more or less allow the woman to more or less galvanize their inner sanctum. To those that believe in the tenets of theology, not here to push religion, but I did grow up in the church. Do I live by it? No. But did I grow up in it? Yes. God, your purpose, and then the woman, if you're a married man or you decide to get married, come last. You always come first. Your purpose towards God come first, then your purpose as a man, and then that relationship. Because see, when you allow a woman to be your number one, then when she decides to leave you now, what do you have left? Nothing. But when you're focused on Yahweh and your purpose, you're always looking up. You're not looking up to her. You're not looking up to her. You're looking up to him and your purpose, because those things will never fail. But relationships are damn near guaranteed at 70 to 90%. And with 70 to 90% of relationships ending in divorce, 90% by educated women, 70% by the typical woman, men are saying, what is the benefit? You got good brothers that are listening that are highly educated. I got a good friend, Mr. James Turner. You know, he's a IT guy, engineer, make excellent money. So why would a man like him or other single brothers to have good money more or less give their good to women that don't understand or respect them or regard them as men. As a licensed therapist, that's not good. And also, it does not foster what Dr. William Glasser talked about. Dr. William Glasser talked about power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. But when a man in modern times get with some modern women, it can cause that man to have a scheme of affliction, but also can cause that man to break. And Gene, I want to ask you a question, man. When you think about the percentage, because there are some good sisters that are listening to this show tonight. We know there are some good women, and shout out to the good sisters. I want to always give a round of applause to the good women that are striving to be agents to help men become the better versions of themselves. But all too often, Gene Davis, there's a lot of negative ones associated. And many of them begin to laugh at Kevin Samuels because many got the spirit of, they got the spirit of the hyena. Many of them got the spirit of the hyena. Yeah, they got the spirit of the hyena, you know?
Can't argue.
Yeah, they got the spirit of the hyena. And so, in less than 3 minutes, because I want to show this clip, when you saw these women begin to verbally macerate Kevin Samuels, they begin to mock him and laugh at him for his untimely death. What did it reconfirm to you about the modern woman in America?
Well, it just basically confirms that, you know, they're first of all, they don't respect Black men. And it doesn't matter how much truth you tell them. It doesn't matter how accurate your information is. They see you before they see anything that's coming out of your mouth. Mm-hmm. And therefore they devalue whatever's coming out of your mouth regardless. Here's the thing, bro. I want to challenge something you said earlier about, because these women go to work and they submit. They get with white guys, and I'm an expert on this, being that I grew up in a Republican stronghold, and now being a trainer in New York City, I know countless white dudes. I mean, these women will get around white guys and become complete doormats. I mean, you even have a fetish called race play, where there's over 1,000 blogs online where Black women are sex slaves to white supremacists, bro. Mm-hmm. So in the whole act of submitting to the white supremacists is the aphrodisiac. It's the turn on for the Black woman. But respecting and submitting to a Black man is beneath them. It's like you're asking them to, you know, belittle themselves and degrade themselves. So, you know, there's no intellectual integrity in their position. And, you know, the fact that our women lead in every statistical measure of dysfunction, from abortions to out of wedlock births to obesity, overweight, STDs, just on and on and on, tells you that, you know, this is a problem with the majority, not the minority. It's a problem with the majority. What Kevin was talking about, he's talking about the majority. Because if it was the minority would have beat back, the majority would have beat back the minority. But you see more women attacking Kevin than defending Kevin. Mm-hmm. And there are good, you know, and what the bad thing is that a lot of good women get caught up in this nonsense, but it's their responsibility to differentiate themselves and to also speak out against the behavior of, you know, the so-called sisterhood. Because otherwise, how do you know that they're any different? You can't be making excuses for them. You can't, there can be no bystanders. You got to pick a side.
You got to pick a side. I totally
agree. You got to pick a side. If you're a bystander, then you're going to be assumed to be with them. And
you're part of the problem.
And you're going to get those same outcomes.
No doubt. Hold tight, Gene. Shout out to my man, Teron Morton. He said that you're filling a niche very much needed in this space. I appreciate it, Teron. And I haven't forgot you, young man. We'll definitely make it happen at some point later tonight if you're still up. And then also shout out to Luke Casey for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, dear. I appreciate it. Gene, I want to show you something because you're not explored. That perhaps Mr. Samuels could have transpired by lack of exercise, perhaps lack of rest, perhaps too many Red Bulls. And I'm going to pull up, let me see. I don't know if I can pull it up. Hold tight, Gene. let me see if I can pull that DM that you sent Kevin. Sadly, before he passed. Where's it at? And I'm going to read it, but I don't know if I can find it. Hold tight. Let's see. Was it? Okay, here you go. All right. Okay, yeah, I can't see, but anyway, Gene, what did you say with that particular? What did you say? I can't see it, but it's not going.
What?
This was the document that this was the. I'll just read it, man. That was the. Gene, it was the thing that you sent. But anyway,
are you talking about the? You talking about the screenshot
yeah.
I sent you of the message I sent Kevin?
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'll just read it out loud.
Read.
You said, "Bruh, Celsius is a lot healthier than Red Bull. I'm a fitness and pharmaceutical industry professional. It is my business to know these things. We need you as healthy as possible. So please get you some Celsius." And this was the DM that Gene had sent Kevin in the past, telling him to get Celsius water.
Yeah, I sent that to him like a year before, and I sent him. I also messaged him a couple of times on Facebook, but like I said, I don't have access to that account anymore. And he never responded to me. But
never responded, right?
Honestly, I saw this coming. This is why I messaged the guy, because I saw this coming. I was like, it's not good. You know, all the elements are there. The guy sits for long periods, bad for your health. Right. Working tremendous amount of hours, bad for your health. He's not a young man. No, not good. Not drinking water. And under a lot of stress, and you add in the Red Bull. So like those 6 things, I mean, how many more things do you need to be against you?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't overweight or anything, but you know, that doesn't really mean anything. I worked with a guy named Russell who was thinner than Kevin Samuels, and he had a massive heart attack in his bathtub, and the doctors told his mother that he could have been in the hospital, like right there in front of them, and they couldn't have saved him. Like the heart attack was that bad. And he was like 5'9", like 130 pounds, man. Right.
And man, you know, I'm going to go back to biking. You know, I remember you and I talking, you was telling me that biking is good for the joints. I got a Trek 920 bike. I paid literally over $2,000 with that bike.
Yeah, it's low impact.
Low impact, right. And with all the little bells and whistles, I probably kicked out close to $2,600 for that bike. But I'm gonna get back to biking, man, because I got to get this weight off. I got to start, going to bed earlier, and I turned that computer off, turning YouTube off, guys. Many times I'm guilty of it myself. We'd be in our rooms looking at YouTube to 1 or 2 in the morning, and see what happens many times. The body makes serotonin at night, but light from blue light makes cortisol, so it keeps you awake. And that's not good for your circadian rhythm. When the circadian rhythm is operating on a healthy and a consistent way, good sleep is the precursor to losing weight. But you can't lose weight if you're not getting your rest. Actually, good sleep also is good for your testosterone levels.
Absolutely.
Right, because the testosterone levels tend to spike in the morning. Hold tight, Gene. Hold tight, brother. Shout out to my man Jim Rader for that $10 super sticker. Thank you, brother. And that is a deal, right? I appreciate it.
That's a deal, right?
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. But I want to talk about and explore this show even more, Gene. And we're going to look at what some content creators have done. Shout out to Manhood Highlights Daily. This is fair use, but I saw something come across my screen, and I wanted to attack it because Manhood Highlight Daily said something that made a lot of sense, something that I thought about. Gene, Michael Jackson said in the past, they don't really care about us. They got rid of Dr. King. They got rid of Stokely Carmichael, Eldridge Cleaver. They got rid of Malcolm X. Anytime we begin to have a meteoric rise, some say that they're going to do everything in their power to destroy or subvert it. You and I are more or less looking at it from the biopsychosocial spiritual perspective, meaning Kevin he didn't get enough sleep and he overworked himself to the point that perhaps it led to his untimely demise. But there are some that believe that it was something more sinister. And I'm going to look at it. Right. I think it was. I've always said it was. But hold tight in the meantime. Hold tight.
Well, I know what you're going to get into.
Hold tight, man. Fair use.
Fair use.
Fair use. But hold tight. I want to bring this thing up, and we'll talk about it together, G.
I'm familiar with what you're going to pull up.
Okay, that's fine. Well, good. You must have seen it just like I saw it, but hold tight. And this is from Manhood Highlights Daily. You guys can look at the full video at some point. I do not own the rights to this video, but I want to break down what these brothers are talking about, because what Manhood Highlights Daily they did an excellent video.
Oh, you mean Manosphere Highlights? Manosphere.
Yeah, Manosphere Highlights. Right, there you go. Whatever you call it. All right.
To J. Figuerio, Unit 2205, responded to a call at the
What the heck?
address regarding a person injured. Upon arrival, Officer Figuerio observed the fire department engine number 21 performing CPR to a black male, unresponsive on the floor of his apartment. I then met Miss Anonymous, who identified the male as Mr. Kelvin Samuels. We all know that it's not Kelvin. However, the man was not by himself, and the name of the woman that was with him is covered up. We already know the name of the woman that was with him. Pictures of this woman can already be found everywhere on social media, but I'm not gonna call her out in this video because I'm telling you what I'm thinking. I will put all the links in the description so you can do your own due diligence. However, this makes the situation even more suspicious. Miss Anonymous stated that she met Mr. Samuels last night, came to his apartment and spent the night with him. Miss Anonymous also said that early morning Mr. Samuels complained of chest pain and she attempted to help him, but he fell on top of her and proceeded to notify.
Now, before I proceed any further, I want to make sure I give clarification, because once again, you got big mouth folks that go and say, oh, the coach clinician said this. I'm not saying anything. I'm just looking at things from an analytical perspective. Having a former background in law enforcement, more or less piqued my query. But Gene, I want to share this with you as well. Theology is one of the greatest books in the world. It said that it was not my enemy that reproached me. Then I had a warning. But I remember in the gospel, it said that it was you, my brother. And sometimes, Gene, the people that are closest to you are the ones that are the biggest snakes. Sometimes the people that you think love you really have your worst interests at hand. Sometimes the people that you think got your best interests really are planning for your downfall. And I'm not saying this woman did anything. I don't know. But it does look very suspicious. And, as you begin to see the video, you're going to see why this man from Manhood Highlights Daily more or less came up to his own analysis. Hold tight.
Notify 911. Miss Anonymous also said she requested the 911 operator to contact the front desk for a defibrillator to keep Mr. Samuels responsive until Grady arrived, because she is a nurse. Mr. Samuels was later transported to Piedmont Hospital by Grady bus. This woman is the #1 suspect, so you have to check her out. Her race, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. She met him the night before and she wants to remain anonymous. So she is basically a stranger. At least that's what she says.
Here's the caveat. And once again, I don't know this young lady. I'm not saying she did anything, but according to a couple of content creators, they're saying that she said she was a nurse, but when they looked her up in her name, they're saying that they couldn't find anything. Maybe she said that because she didn't want people to know her identity. I don't know. But Gene, and I know that there was some that wanted to silence Kevin Samuels. I said that Kevin Samuels last week was a maverick and he was the Lone Ranger. And there are many content creators like Black Ram. Black Ram is an OG in this space. He's been telling us about female nature for years. The Angry Man, he's another great one. Coach Greg Adams, he's been doing a great job, and many, many more. But the thing that more or less was perplexing about this lady is that she was supposed to be his, I don't know. Some say he met her that night. Some said that he's known her for a while. I don't know. But it makes you wonder when you have a cadre of men and women that are setting back for the untimely demise of a man, when the man many times did way more good than they try to accuse him of doing negative. Keep listening.
She deleted all of her social media after the news came out, and social media started posting her pictures. She told the police that she is a nurse. So let's listen to the audio.
911 operator 7910. What is the address of your emergency?
I really need some help.
Okay. Hello, ma'am. Take a deep breath. And what's the address that you're at?
Well, I'm not sure. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just trying to get CPR. Oh my God. Hold on.
Okay.
You need to come to. It's the residence. It's please just come past. It's Kevin Samuels. You need to come.
Ma'am, take a deep breath. 731. What is the street name?
It is 297 East Paces Ferry Road, Northeast.
Okay, is this a house or an apartment?
Oh my God, I don't fucking know. It's Kevin Samuels.
You don't know if it's a house or apartment?
Oh, it's an apartment.
Okay, what's the apartment number?
I know. I just need to give him CPR. Just please, just ask for
You need an ambulance?
Yes.
Okay.
Gene, what do you find perplexing about this woman's frantic call, but also her being a nurse, and she panicked, but also allegedly a nurse, but also she didn't know if he was in an apartment or an apartment or a townhouse, because this is troubling to me, Gene. It doesn't feel right that man is gone. And the fact that so many people laughed and mocked at his life, but also they mocked him even more in death, is very troubling. What are you getting, Gene, as you begin to ruminate mentally about this frantic call by this woman?
Well, the frantic call doesn't surprise me. Like, I've seen people forget their kid's name and age and all this sort of stuff if something happens to the kid because they panic. So that doesn't surprise. And again, like I said, I have 2 sisters that are RNs. My ex-wife is a doctor. It happens. What is perplexing is that she said she was a nurse, but nobody can find any evidence of her being a nurse. Mm-hmm. And also, I would imagine the lying about how she knew him or whatever. Like, this is what's weird. Like, why would you have the presence of mind to lie about where you met him and how long you've known him, when it's now come out that they were in a full-blown relationship? Like, this woman knew his mother, knew his daughter. She didn't just meet him. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you could have the presence of mind to lie about that, but not the other things, but like, fear is a funny thing. It's not, and hysteria and panic is a funny thing. You can't really qualify why some people would have the presence of mind to do some things and not to do others. But the whole thing about her not being a nurse and saying she was a nurse, that's really weird. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, that is weird. Hold tight.
Hold on. Okay, listen, hold on. Let me connect you with the ambulance. Do not hang up.
Are you listening?
Hold on, ma'am. I have to connect you with the ambulance.
It's Kevin fucking Samuels.
I understand, but I have to connect you with the ambulance.
Are you okay?
Yeah, miss. What's the address of your place?
One of the disturbing things about this audio is that it confirms Black women's stereotypes of bad customer service workers. It's hard to defend the sisters if they keep proving us right. But I digress. What strikes me about Miss Anonymous is that she is very panicked. She's a nurse and she met him the night before, and she's totally not calm about the situation. She is not registered. Nowhere to be found. Why are nurses registered? Let's read. Prior to the introduction of registration, nursing was completely unregulated and unrestricted by requirements of training and education. It meant anyone could practice as a nurse, irrespective of whether they had received training. This not only put the lives of patients at risk, but also exposed practicing nurses to the risk of exploitation, such as through low pay and poor working conditions. This is where this situation gets on conspiracy grounds for me. Remember, I'm thinking out loud. I wasn't there. I'm just sharing my thoughts.
Once again, guys, we're not saying that this woman was complicit. But however, we're just looking at the evidence. I'm going to say it again because once again, we know Gene Davis, there are people that'll run away with what you said. They go lie on you with their big mouths and say that, he said whatever. And I wish somebody would come to me because number one, I'm a grown man and I would back up whatever I say. I don't tap dance to no man. I respect all, but I bow to none. But Gene, it's beginning to look very suspect. Once again, we're not accusing this young woman of anything, but it does look suspect.
However, I don't think she intentionally terminated Kevin Samuels. This lady is so panicked that I suspect there is more to this story. In the audio, she also says this.
It's Kevin fucking Samuels.
I understand, but I have to connect you with the ambulance.
It's effing Kevin Samuels. She knew who the man was, even though she met him the night before. She might not be a registered nurse, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't have a nursing degree or took a crash course in drugging and knocking a man unconscious, which unfortunately led to an unplanned cardiac arrest. Can't wait for the autopsy report. Or she could have been installed by the FBI to terminate Kevin Samuels without even knowing it. They spent the night together. She got close. Now, why would you want to terminate Kevin Samuels? Well, there are a couple of reasons. Let's look at the obvious first. Video of Kevin Samuels' last live stream shows that he was arguing with someone. He's basically preventing the person from getting on camera.
You don't want to be on, I don't want you on there. Are you seeing me? I'm trying to protect you. Okay, you need to. Okay, I'm about to get back on camera. Just get wherever you're gonna get to. So.
And it's obvious there was a woman there, and he was in distress. You can look at his body language, and tell that you can tell that he was, sort of perturbed a little bit. This was the day, or the day after, that he came to his untimely demise. And Gene, we're gonna look at Red Bulls. We know the Red Bulls can cause heart arrhythmia. We know that. But it's just something that's fishy about this situation. I saw in the social media where there was some that said we got to cancel Kevin Samuels. And that was a day or two before his death. And as I said before earlier, Gene, anytime there's a presence of any Messiah, black or white, something always happens. That's why people have begun to parallel him with Dr. King and Malcolm X, not because he necessarily had that scope of magnitude, but because what he was doing in our community and what he was attempting to do with marriage, even though I don't necessarily agree with marriage in these modern times, but it's troubling.
We don't know if it's her, but we do know that when a man reaches a certain level, there will be women out there looking for that clout. We also know that women don't handle rejection very well. And to take it a step further, he met her the night before and she's already spending the night. Right now, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are in court, and Amber Heard has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder.
The results of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported 2 diagnoses: borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder.
Borderline personality disorder is a mental illness that severely impacts a person's ability to regulate their emotions. This loss of emotional control can increase impulsivity, affect how a person feels about themselves, and negatively impact their relationships with others. Johnny Depp claims that Amber Heard hit him, and after a disagreement, she threw bottles at him, which ended up severing his finger.
Like that, and she threw the large bottle, and it made contact and shattered everywhere.
What I'm saying is, be careful who you bring into your house, into your life. Mental issues are a real thing, and we all know that women have higher rates of mental disorders than men. So this is the obvious one. Kevin Samuels rejected her, she couldn't take it, and she did something stupid that she ended up regretting later. That's why she panicked.
Become a cybersecurity professional in less than a year. Our live virtual classes take.
The second obvious one is that she is a Kevin Samuels hater. We made a video called How Much Proof Do You Need? Kevin Samuels Haters, Volume 3. There were a lot of women and men that were hating on Kevin Samuels, and it was no secret that some of these haters wanted his channel terminated and would have no problem if someone terminated him.
Let you keep talking shit and calling us low valued and all that shit. I'm gonna have a problem when I see you. You SpongeBob squarehead ass nigga. Huh? The minute I see you with that turtleneck, I'm gonna wrap that pussy around that turtleneck, nigga. Show you what.
This would happen to Tommy Sotomayor all the time, that people would make his home address public in the hopes someone would terminate him. Now that Kevin Samuels is not with us anymore, these haters are celebrating. It's ridiculous. However, this is reality. Like I've said before, these are obvious motives to terminate Kevin Samuels, and I don't think it's this simple. I don't think it's this small. That's a bigger picture, and I'm going to explain why I think Kevin Samuels had to die.
Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic.
The breaking news, stay at home. That is the order tonight from 4 state governors, New York, California, Illinois, and Connecticut, all ordering non-essential employees to stay home.
The great shutdown of 2020 is underway. We know the hospital surge is coming. Preparations are underway in cities like Seattle. Unfortunately, it's at the arrival of a hurricane 100 years ago.
In March 2020, the world locks down. People are forced to stay inside the house. Offline traffic goes down, but online traffic goes up. This pandemic plays a key role in Kevin Samuels' rise in popularity, as well as a key role in his death. Kevin Samuels, who is an image consultant, started his YouTube channel called By Kevin Samuels at the time, primarily focused on fragrances for men. He changed up his content, being more vocal about men's issues and how men can improve themselves in general. Basically, the manosphere topics that we discuss on a daily basis in the manosphere. He started making appearances mostly in the Black manosphere, appearing on various live streams and collaborated with other content creators in this space. But it was when he switched up his content and started concentrating it on women when Kevin Samuels started hitting it big, especially when he changed the presentation of his content. It looked great, authentic, professional, and the way he would talk to the women that would call in was in the style of, it's not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And in these woke times that we are living in today, you're cooking with gas. Unlike Derek Jackson, that was telling these women what they wanted to hear instead of what they needed to hear in 2020 during the pandemic. A lot of women couldn't handle what Kevin Samuels had to say. The controversial content drew more and more people to his channel, and it was this clip that took Kevin Samuels' status to a whole new level.
Okay, so that makes you...
Gee, I'm going to ask you a question, man. What percentage of modern women, in your opinion, could be suffering from mental illness? I know that borderline personality disorders play a role, and also histrionic as well. But before you answer that question, give me a minute, Gene. I want to hear your points, but I want to read out these super chats. Shout out to my man, BJ the Hitman, for that $25.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal,
and that is a deal,
That's
right?
a deal, right?
Thank you, BJ the Hitman.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Let me read you a few more. Shout out to Christopher Law for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, Chris. Shout out to the Seattle Black Veteran. You are so right. YouTube is a job. Thank you, sir. Shout out to Christopher Law again for that $5 super sticker. And shout out to my man, D. D said that foul play suspected. I hope there's an investigation. Too many people wanted him dealt with. She lied. And thank you, brother, for that $5 super sticker. Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone that have donated on tonight, and also to the 2091 that are watching. But go ahead, Gene. Share your points of reckoning, or your points of insight as it relates to this. Go ahead.
Well, we know for a fact that 25% of women are under some sort of health drug. And that, so those are the ones that have been diagnosed. So how many haven't been diagnosed? I would argue that the majority haven't been diagnosed. So I would guess, over 50%, because 25% have been diagnosed and are on medication. But, you know, observable reality tells you that those numbers are higher, because we wouldn't be having the problems that we have. And this is across the board. Like, I'm talking about women in general, not just Black women. I mean, again, in the business I'm in, I get a lot of exposure to different races and different socioeconomic levels of people, and I don't know too many affluent women who aren't on, you know, something. You know, they're not taking something, or and they have therapists. You know, the combination of the both. Like, almost every rich person I know has a therapist, and a lot of them are on some sort of a mental health drug.
Right. I totally agree, brother. Hold tight. Hold tight.
If you give yourself a 5, that's average.
Yes.
So average looking women tend not to get high earning men. They tend to get average men.
So
did you I mean, stop right there, breathe and digest. You're 35 years old and you can look around and see the world. You don't tend to see higher earning men with average looking women off rip. If you do see them, they got their average looking woman when they were both really young and he built his way up. But a man earning the kind of money you're talking about does not go for an average looking woman.
I mean, my body is not average, so.
But ma'am, you please don't make me say it.
Say what? I really just wanted some advice. I love your stuff.
I'm giving you advice, but you're not taking it. The advice is, ma'am, you're average looking at best.
The video went viral on World Star Hip Hop, and a lot of women didn't understand the full context of that video, claiming Kevin Samuels was a woman hater.
How you let a man tell you rate yourself and you can't say nothing over a 7?
Let's start there. A 6-figure man is average. A 6-figure woman is average. That should be standard.
It was an act of violence against her and all the women around the world who can relate to her.
Ironically, women kept calling into the show. And to take it a step further, Kevin Samuels' YouTube channel kept growing. Over the next 2 years, it grew to a level that was unseen and unheard of in this space. With over 1 million subscribers, Kevin Samuels could not be denied by the mainstream. Big names like Nicki Minaj and Future are now part of the Kevin Samuels discussion.
And on a scale from 1 to 10, you can't use 7. What would you rank yourself?
Guys, think you can't eat like this to lose weight? Yes, you can. Nutrisystem has changed the...
Yes, Kevin Samuels has officially become a threat. A threat to what? A threat to who? Kevin Samuels didn't reach over 1 million subscribers by being an athlete, a singer, rapper, or an actor. Even when he was doing his videos about fragrances, he peaked at 10K subscribers. The type of content Kevin Samuels produced is not considered politically correct. We all know in the manosphere that you have to use your words carefully. Be careful with the content you put out there, because YouTube will terminate your channel, shadow ban it, and or demonetize it. Red pill content is not considered politically correct. And a great example is the video we did about the FBI, most wanted, coming after the manosphere.
This is the manosphere where incels thrive. Traffic has been high on these sites in the past year.
And who uses these?
Anywhere from your run-of-the-mill lonely guys to the guys into plastic surgery. Now, what's scary is how many of these guys have violent fantasies towards women.
Well, yeah, they see them as trophies, not people, right? So they're objects they can destroy when the women don't do what they want.
FBI Most Wanted is a TV show, but this is reality.
In 1968,
The FBI had sent around this internal memo. It outlined goals to prevent the coalition of militant Black nationalists.
You notice anytime, Gene, men come together to share their misgivings, to share their grievances, to share their stirs, to share their pain, it's always met under the microscope of scrutiny, but also they begin to get very nefarious labels like misogyny. I heard you start to laugh, and before you tell me, hold tight, let me send a special shout out to Luke Casey. She said, do you think that those women that perform baby deletions could be suffering from mental health as the effect of such practice? No doubt. Many are still dealing with the unresolved issues from baby deletions. So yes, many have regret, many have guilt, many have shame, many say they have hallucinations about their babies. So yes, it could be a byproduct of mental illness. Yes. And then shout out to D. He said that I have been in practice for 8 years. I would venture to say that 80% or more dealing with a mental health disorder, both diagnosed and undiagnosed. More than often, it runs in the family and is passed down. Yes, sir. And thank you again, D.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet.
And
right?
I'm going to say something.
Right?
Everything
deal,
is
right?
not trauma, and everything is not mental illness. A lot of times, guys, it's just the fallen nature of man. The theologians call it original sin. Some of it is just the fallen nature of man. But Gene, hold tight. You like you're about to say something. What were you about to say, brother? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was laughing because you know, the funny thing, this is what's funny to me about this whole Kevin Samuels thing and this, how they try to you know, define the manosphere, you know, as something, you know, it's like all these like incels. I mean, come on. Like, first of all, incels are not, most channels are not incel channels.
They're not, right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. But what really cracks me up is that the whole time this man was alive, you know, and he's basically like, when he stopped the young lady in the Average at Best video, and he says, like, look around, like these people, and this is where you have to question the mental health of these people, is that all he did was ask women to compare their observable reality to their wants and their expectations and their demands. And this guy was on air with women for over 2 years, right? Not a single person was able to come onto his platform and win a debate. Like, I mean, he had a saying, he would say, Godfather undefeated. You know, so it's like, how is it that they lose every face-to-face debate, but he was anything but a truth teller? Like, and all these people that have something to say now and had something to say when he was alive, why didn't they go onto his platform or meet in a neutral place and debate him? Like, he never lost. He literally never lost. So, like, you have to question the mental health and the integrity of people who can watch their position be defeated 100% of the time and still hold on to that position.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And one last thing I want to say about that, it reminds me of when Stephen Colbert, he was the guest at the White House Correspondents' Dinner when Bush was president. And he said, it was funny. So he's on stage with President Bush, right? And he's roasting him, bro, like roasting him unmercifully. And he says, the one thing I love about this man is that he believes the same thing on Wednesday that he believed on Monday, no matter what happened Tuesday.
Right.
And that's that is Kevin Samuels' detractors. No matter what, no matter how many times they see the arguments defeated, they still have the same position. And the problem is him, and he hates black women, or he hates women, or whatever. You know, but the guy died undefeated. No one ever came on that platform and proved him wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to my man Dobin for the $2 super sticker. He's in the Kevin call for black men to support black women creators. I don't have an issue with that as much as if they're more or less for the advocacy of black men. But you have to be careful because some have ulterior motives. Hold tight, G. Hold tight.
Nationalist groups and prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement.
The FBI was and still is preventing the rise of a quote-unquote messiah. What is a messiah? We're not talking about the biblical definition, but this one right here. A leader believed to have the power to solve the world's problems. When you call someone a messiah, you mean that he is expected to do great things, especially to rescue people from a very difficult or dangerous situation, or that they are thought to have done these things. Now, let's take a closer look at the paragraph and see if it rings any bells. Prevent the rise of a messiah who could, that's the key word, could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a quote-unquote messiah. He is the martyr of the movement today. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and Elijah Muhammad all aspire to this position. Elijah Muhammad is less of a threat because of his age. King could, there's that word again, the fact that you could do something like this makes you a threat. Let's take it a step further. Be a very real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed quote-unquote obedience to quote-unquote white liberal doctrines, non-violence, and embrace black nationalism.
Your sheets are trash. Literally, you're gonna want to toss them after watching this.
You see how these great leaders were greatly observed because of the potential threat to the establishment? Martin Luther King was not assassinated for his quote-unquote "I have a dream" speech because that was politically correct. He was assassinated when he started talking about cutting the check.
To get our check, to get our check.
In other words, he wanted real power for black folk, real independence from the establishment, and with the power to unify and electrify people all over the world, he had to be terminated. Did you get it yet? When you read your history, you'll find a lot of quote-unquote messiahs assassinated, if not jailed, if not discredited, because one man can change the world. Do you think it's a coincidence that Michael Jackson had to go? When Michael Jackson was singing about girls and partying, everything was cool. The moment he started singing a different tune, the tune of power, the tune of the Messiah, that's when they came after him. They did everything to discredit him at first. But after all that dirt they threw on his name, the people still loved him. He was about to give his greatest concert. This is it. And suddenly he was terminated. Politics and economics go hand in hand. Michael Jackson had a lot of economic power because he invested in assets like the Beatles.
Truly, that song that he made back in I believe 2000s when he said they don't really care about us. And also you guys begin to see how Dr. King began to change. He went from talking about kumbaya to about real power. And anytime our men or black men in general, or any man, black or white, but particularly black men, begin to speak about real power, then they are seen as a threat and they have to be taken out. Keep listening.
Catalog, Eminem's catalog, and he owned 50% of Sony Music. And with the power to unify and electrify people all over the world, he had to be terminated right before his greatest concert. And of course, they are going to cover it up with a story that the majority of people will eat up. They did the same thing with Fred Hampton. When an FBI informant in the Black Panther Party, William O'Neill, provided information that helped Chicago police to kill Fred Hampton in 1969. A criminal associate eventually testified under oath that when the two of them were high, O'Neill admitted to drugging Hampton the night of the attack. A good dose of secobarbital in a glass of Kool-Aid. O'Neill's cover was blown by a newspaper in 1973, and in a tell-all interview in the late 80s, he said something interesting, and I quote, "Do I feel like I betrayed someone? Absolutely not. I had no allegiance to the Panthers," end quote. O'Neill told the interviewer in a section that ended up not airing. This reminds me of this scene of The Godfather 2.
If anything in this life is certain, if history's taught us anything, it says you can kill anyone.
You can kill anyone. There is always someone that is willing to do the job, willing to drug you, willing to snitch on you. Everybody has a price. Listen to William O'Neill.
My recruitment by the FBI was very efficient, very simple, really. I'd stolen a car and went joyriding over the state limit, and they had a potential case against me, and I was looking for an opportunity to work it off.
These things are planned way before these quote-unquote messiahs are terminated. One more thing. Let's go back to the messiah paragraph of the FBI. Carmichael has the necessary charisma to be a real threat in this way. Keyword, charisma, a special power that some people naturally have, which allows them to influence other people and attract their attention and admiration.
Assalamu alaikum. 10 million Afghans are on the brink of starvation. Subhanallah.
The knowledge, the message that Kevin Samuels was spreading has been here way before Kevin Samuels blew up. As the master teacher BJS Seymore said, he is forged in the fires of the manosphere. However, people like Kevin Samuels only appear once in a lifetime. A lot of people that followed Kevin Samuels were not even manosphere or red pill, and a lot of people thought that he invented the terminology used in this space and that other content creators were imitating him. That was not the case. It's more the other way around. However, with his charisma, he was able to draw in more people than you could ever imagine. That's why terminating Kevin Samuels also terminates the majority of his followers. The die-hard supporters of the ideology, philosophy will remain. Just like true boxing fans will keep supporting the sport, unlike the casual boxing fan that disappears when his favorite fighter loses or retires. Kevin Samuels was an advocate for marriage. A lot of black men have given up on black women, but in order to have a strong community, you will need strong families. This pandemic proved women are looking for men, and Kevin Samuels gave them a wake-up call. The pandemic was the perfect timing for Kevin Samuels' ascension, and with the pandemic coming to an end, Kevin Samuels could take his show offline and unify and electrify people all over the world with a message, an ideology, a philosophy that's not considered politically correct and delivered by a man that's considered a symbol of strength, a messiah that inspired many men and women to become the best version of themselves. The best version of a man that doesn't resonate with the wokeness and weakness agenda of modern society. His influence was only at the beginning stages and had the potential to reach beyond the skies. That's why Kevin Samuels had to die. My heart goes out to the family of Mr. Samuels. With this video, we pay our respects to the Godfather. Mr. Kevin Samuels, salute!
Let me go ahead and do it for myself.
Remember, one man can change the world. Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times. This video has officially been...
All right. So, you guys saw it, I saw it. And we saw that great breakdown by Manhood Highlights Daily. Go check out that channel and go subscribe to those brothers. They did a great job breaking that video down. But we know that Kevin actually reverberated what had always been said by many men in the past. He just took it to a global level. And then also the pandemic helped him to his metric rise as well. But G, real quick, what did you get from that video and what resonated with you, brother? With some things in that video.
Well, the thing that resonated with me in that video is something that is probably not obvious to most, but it is to me because of what I know about this. So you saw where they said the FBI basically had a plan in place to prevent the rise of any, quote unquote, black messiah. And they had a strategy in how they would, basically stop that from happening, including, assassinating that person. Right. So, so meaning that they were active in doing this. It wasn't like they just had this strategy to observe. Fast forward to 2006, that same FBI published a report that white supremacists were infiltrating law enforcement all over the country, right? So they produced this report, but they had no strategy for stopping it. They had no strategy for infiltrating police departments to, neutralize white supremacists who were joining police forces in order to be able to kill black men and get off. Kill black men under the law. Commit murder, beat and brutalize black people. The FBI had no strategy to stop this. They just acknowledged that it was happening. And if that doesn't validate what Michael Jackson said, as far as, no, it's not even they don't really care about us. They hate us. They hate us, and they are invested in our demise, especially us as men, because let's be honest, they have already got black women bamboozled. I personally view a large percentage of black women as white supremacists in blackface, because they buy into all. Listen to a black feminist talk about a black man, and listen to a white supremacist talk about a black man, and you tell me the difference in the talking points. So I mean, ultimately, that's my take from the video, is that it's not even that they don't care about us; they hate us, and they're actively invested in our demise.
Yes, I agree, man. Sadly, and I'll even say that some of it is very parabolic, but also demonic, to say the least. But I won't get too much into that. But I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, Gene. With Kevin Samuels' untimely death, there's still clarion callers like myself. You and I talking private. There are other content creators that are more or less amplifying the call. As a licensed therapist, I will continue to seek to inspire men and also to the women that are listening as it relates to community and building. As I said earlier, I'm not against marriage per se, but I tend to be more, if I was a single man, of the free agent. I do agree the community is important. But you know this, Gene, every time we talk about the community, it's always a community of servitude when it comes down to black men and men in general. There's always a community of servitude when it comes down to us. But you saw the last election, but when it comes down to them, some of our women, or many of our women, it's about individualism. Some have said that many of our women don't see themselves as the black community. They see themselves as individuals, as seen by, what's the guy's name? Ice Cube. But when it comes down to black men doing their civil duty or civic duty, it's always, we should come back and defend the community. But the election showed that many didn't vote for community or the black family or black boys or black girls. Many voted for themselves. What's your take on that?
Well, I don't. So I disagree that black women see themselves as individuals. I don't believe that. I mean, and they, again, observable reality. They see themselves as a sisterhood, separate from black men and from the black community. And the reason I say even separate from the black community is that, while they go around bragging about, how they're strong, independent, they're educated, and all of this, their children lag behind, especially their boys.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you're invested in yourself. You're not even invested in your sons. And then you turn around and you complain about the quality of men, but where's your investment in your men? I mean, how often do you see women on social media and you look at their pages And their pages are all about them. You don't see them saying, and then you look and you see they have kids. They're a single mom, you know, but there's no pictures of them doing homework with their children. There's no pictures of them, you know, exposing their kids to culture. There's pictures of them turning up with their girlfriends,
Right,
you know.
right.
Pictures of them shaking their butt. I mean, and this is the thing. So you juxtapose that against the fact that the CDC issued a report a few years ago that said Black men are the most active fathers in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, so here's this, we're always being told that we need to do more. We need to be in servitude to the community. I remember there was this push, I think it was that clown Umar Johnson. It was like saying, it may not have been him, but a lot of people were saying like Black men need to come back to the Black community to mentor these young boys. But why didn't the women pick husbands first, and that would be good fathers to these kids, instead of asking strangers that you would never want to sleep with to now be a role model to your son? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's totally backwards, and the onus to fix it is Black women break it, but the onus to fix it is always on Black men. You know, why should we have to? I don't blame any man for not wanting to clean up the mistakes some woman made in her youth. When she was at her best, she had no time for him. You know what I'm saying? And now that she's on the decline, and the guys who she finds sexually attractive are no longer paying her that attention, now is for the good Black man who did all the things right. You know, like you had your children while married. I had my children while married. You know, we didn't go out there and doing crazy stuff and, you know, contributing to negative stereotypes of the Black community. But we're supposed to go and bail out women who contributed to the negative stereotypes of the Black community, and save them from the error of their ways. No, not doing it.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think it's a byproduct, Gene, of both. I think there is I do agree with you. There is a sisterhood, but I think it's also tied into individualism. That individualism is about me. I'm a diva. I'm a goddess. But then
that's true.
But then it ties into the sisterhood, the group thing. But my man Andrew Baker said Black women are not a sisterhood. They hate each other. Mostly with their sister's husband or man, talk about each other. Yeah, that's
true. But they're united against us. That is true. But they're united against us.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And Arturo Soares said that feminism destroyed traditional marriage. Yeah, and a lot of men are beginning to wake up, Gene, and they're saying they're not going to be cleaned up men. Some are saying that even though they do respect Kevin's opinion and vision for marriage, I just think that he was an empath. He had a good heart. I think he had a greater vision, but a lot of men are saying that they're not signing up for marriage in modern times because it doesn't benefit them, and I really don't blame them. I'm not against men traveling abroad to find their wives, with the understanding that women traditionally are women. A woman at her base level, as it relates to survival, as it relates to some of her base nature and her base tendencies, are the same. But women are different as it relates to temperament and socialization. It all plays a role. Plays a very nefarious role at that.
Well, you can't bring them to this ecosystem if you're going to marry abroad. You got to keep them in their ecosystem where the standards are different. You bring them over here, ultimately you're going to get what's already over here. She's going to become that.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, you take a risk. You can do it. I know some guys that have and they've done fine, but it's risky. But I would say the proper safeguards would be her faith, her community, her love, her true love for you to service, and accountability from those elders in her family that hold her to a standard. It can be done, but it is risky. So I agree with that. It can be done, but it's very risky. But Gene, I want to ask you a question, man. You know, because I asked myself the question, where do we go from here? And I'm gonna drop the link in a minute, man, and ask a couple of guys. I'll let the guys come in and speak, and then I'm gonna sign off because I need to eat. And I'm tired, man. I got a mental overload by looking at Doctor Strange and all them third eyes. all of them, hold tight. This is the part of the show where we find solutions. All right, Gene. So we know that there would never be another Kevin Samuels, but just like there's not another Kevin Samuels, there would never be another kosher clinician. There would never be another kosher clinician because we are
fire for your mind.
I understand I have kosher a very unique niche in this space because I am a licensed therapist with a background in law enforcement, with a background in special education, but also understanding pathologies as I seek to bring balance to all men, black and white. But Gene, what are the solutions going forward, and what did you get from this show and the impact on the mental wellness of men? What did you get from the show? And also, what are the solutions in that loaded question?
I mean, honestly, bro, if and I'm always honest. I think the community as a whole is done. I think the only thing that black men can do is, and right now, black men are doing pretty well. Different studies say between 57 and 64% of black men are in the middle class. So we just need to keep working on ourselves, focusing on ourselves. And if marriage is your goal, then go outside of the community. If you can find that unicorn here, by all means. I will never say that there are no good black women here, but they make themselves hard to find because they're afraid to speak up.
Right.
Too, just like the simps, they're afraid to speak up, and so they get lumped in with the bad ones. Men have to what part of being a man is doing what you need to do, regardless of what women think or how they feel, or like your purpose cannot be women. Your purpose cannot be to appease women. So black men have to do what they need to do as men, and whoever is down to be on your program and respect your position as head of household, and if that happens to be a black woman born here, great. If not, like you said, if marriage and most guys, let's be honest, most guys want to get married because they want a legacy. They want to have sons. They want their name to carry on. They want kids. But if that's not your thing, then what is the reason to get married? And even if you want to get married, you don't have to marry someone here. You can go overseas, whether it's a country where the people are predominantly of color or not. Like, you go overseas and you get yourself a wife. But black men have to focus on self-improvement, regardless of what black women are doing.
Right. And I think they are, man.
That is the only answer. And as far as like the community is done. It's going to be up to women to decide, and they're not, because they don't respect us. And I want to say one thing, and then I'll take your other questions. This is a problem that very few of us seem to be willing to acknowledge. There is a huge discrepancy in sexual marketplace value between black men and black women.
Mm-hmm.
Black men have a lot of options, despite white supremacy, despite black women the last 50, 60 years talking about how horrible we are. Other women still want us, big time, right? We're the only group of men that have a higher sexual marketplace value than our women. The only group on the face of this planet where that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Black women have a swirling movement and a divestment movement to beg and plead white and non-black men to be with them. Yet those men marry them less than all other races of women. Meanwhile, there's almost 1 million more married black men than black women. So the leverage that they want of the right of first refusal that they want to have with black men to be able to go out and chase other races of men, and when it doesn't work, come back to black men and settle for us. that's not working out because we have the higher sexual marketplace value. We're more in demand. You know, we're more married. So the stereotype is black men don't want to get married, but there's almost 1 million more of us that are married than black women. So how does that even make, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you look at this, it shows you the hatred that they have for the fact that we have these options that they don't. And until they accept that we're the prize in the relationship, we have the higher sexual marketplace value. I mean, I'm not saying this to brag, but how many women have I shown you hitting me up that aren't black?
You have
tons of them.
Right.
So until that acceptance, that humbling of self, where they accept that, you know, we're the prize, not them, and we're the ones in demand, not them, the community can't go anywhere. And I don't see that happening. I know you don't see that happening.
No, I don't see it. Jesus said you can't take new wine and put it into old wineskins. And that's where I differ with Kevin. I think Kevin's heart was right, but Kevin looked at it more or less on a surface level, but Kevin didn't look at it at a holistic level. Until you could change the trajectory and the kaleidoscope with the church, which is faltering. Also with, you know, these liberal institutions that have indoctrinated our women to try to infuse marriage in a culture and into an environment that's not conducive to male respect and order. Even some of the men are not ready to be husbands because they defer power. I think his vision was more wishful than anything. You know, and some will argue, I'm not going to say the names, but some are saying that they don't know if Kevin believed what he was talking about as well, that he believed in what he was actually saying. He just saw it as a way, some say marketing.
The argument that I would make is this, is that he saw it, this is the argument I would make, is that, and I've heard him say this, it was like, okay, for the men that can afford to go outside of the country and get women, but that's not, you know, that's not the majority. And look at who he was with.
Right.
So it's not like, it's just by the way, just by what he was doing is proof that he didn't necessarily believe that the answer for black men was necessarily African-American women, because it wasn't his answer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So his argument was that most guys can't afford to do that. And so black men and black women are going to have to figure out a way to make it work. And that is what I also agree is wishful thinking, because the women they don't respect black men, man.
They don't.
I mean, these women will get with a white guy and look at every black female celebrity practically that's married to a white guy is married to a guy who makes less than them. But when they talk about black men, they say they won't settle. I mean, Serena married a guy who was worth $9 million when she was worth $150 million. People cheered. Lonnie Love is with a broke white guy who lives in her house and picks her up from the airport because he has no job in her car. People cheered. Halle Berry is paying child support to 2 men, and people cheered. Aisha Tyler, her husband got her for $3 million and $20,000 a month, and you know, she's on TV crying about, you know, he's the love of her life. This guy took her to the friggin' cleaners. You know, and people are like, oh, so romantic.
Gene popped off again. I don't know what happened.
Thinking on his
there
part.
you go. Yeah, go ahead, Gene.
No, I'm just saying that was wishful thinking on his part. I know that's what he wanted to happen. Proof that the women weren't down with that.
Right.
They came on the show trying to find a man that made over $100,000, not the average.
Hey, hold tight, bro. Get close are you close to your Wi-Fi? You keep popping out. Hold tight.
Who, me?
Yeah, you keep popping out. Hold tight.
Okay, let me see.
$10 super sticker by Chemo, and that's a deal, right? Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And
That's a
Boss
deal,
Don
right? That's
Dada
a deal,
said
right?
that. He said,
"Let me
getting the bag off of them." Right? Yeah, you kept popping off, man. So don't know what's going on. But go ahead, Gene. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I mean, my man said yes. White men are getting the bag off of them. This is something that Jessica X talked about, but you don't hear too many other people talking about it. there are at least one or two studies that show that when you look at interracial dating and you look at who marries who, every race of woman, regardless of the man that they marry outside of their race, every race of woman tends to marry up when they marry out. So for all this talk about broke black men, there's over 1 million more married black men than black women. And on average, those women are marrying black men who, they're practicing hypergamy. These men are more successful and more educated than them. Black women are the only race of women who, when they marry interracially, marry down. They marry white and non-black men who are less educated and make less money than they do. So all of a sudden, these standards that they have for black men go out the window. And on my last Facebook page, I actually proved that because I filmed and posted several videos right here in New York of black women sleeping in tents with white men, sleeping in cars with white men, and even on 73rd Street, bro, I filmed this black woman with a white guy sleeping on a mattress on Broadway in the middle of New York City in the dead of winter. All of these were in the dead of winter.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see black women doing that stuff with black guys.
Right.
You don't. They will be with a white man no matter what, because his skin, being with him, his skin color, that is the leveling up.
Right.
That's the leveling up. It's racial leveling up. A lot of black guys are misled into thinking that black women are with white men for money, when most times the white guy is broke relative to the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason he's with her, because if he could get a white or an Asian woman on her level, she wouldn't even know his name.
Right. Yeah, and I want to make sure, there are some white brothers that listening. We have no animus towards our white brothers and sisters.
No, I don't blame them for doing what they do.
But it's a condition that's endemic in our community due to, sadly, years of negative social conditioning. But also, like Gene said, for the level of disdain that they have for men that look like us. Gene, but back to the question, man. I want you to answer the question. You did a great job, doing a great job so far.
Yeah.
And hold tight, because we need to have these conversations, Gene. We need to have them, Gene, because
that ain't kosher,
and that ain't right.
And that ain't right, because ain't nobody got time for that, Gene.
Nope.
Ain't nobody got time for that. But finish your point of view, your point of reference, man. And to the 75 of the watching guys, share the content. If anyone else want to pop on and ask Gene a question about health and wellness, feel free. And then we're gonna sign off because I gotta eat, man. I'm hungry. I'm getting lightheaded a little bit. So
yeah, man.
I don't know if it's my blood sugar, but I gotta eat, man.
Yeah, I'm down to take questions, but
but they're gonna be short. They're gonna be under 10 minutes. I gotta go, man.
Yeah.
But go ahead, brother.
No, I'm just saying, ultimately we got to do what's best for us. I would say. What with Golden Dove said is true. It is a Western colonized mindset.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's true. She didn't tell lies.
You see it in Africa, and you see it in Africa too, though. To be honest.
Well, you see the mentality of the worship of white men. You see that in Africa for sure. I mean,
there
better be a kosher meal.
Well, it is kosher. It's gonna be organic salmon, however you say it, salad, and some baked potatoes, baked with herbs on it, and I'm gonna drink some milk. If I don't get Tim to give me a Dr. Pepper, I gotta see him with Dr. Pepper.
You like milk, brother?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I drink 1%.
No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just because a lot of guys don't drink milk.
Oh yeah, I drink it like a Kenyan.
Yeah, I'm not here to tell you that there's something wrong with it.
I drink it like a Maasai warrior. Yeah, I do drink it, man. You know, but go ahead, Jay.
Let me tell you, there's something wrong with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, I just think that we just have to come to terms with where the community is. You know,
right.
It's over, and so it's like save yourself.
Right, save yourself. Right,
save anyone who try to save those that you love. Like at least educate them, and this way they can make a choice on what they want to do. And I try to do that, but you know what? Again, we talk about women so much, but man, there's a lot of simps in the Black community, bro. I have friends that they get as butthurt as women when I have these conversations with them, and especially the ones that are raised by single moms with no male role model in their entire growing up. They get so butthurt. Some of them, they won't talk to me for weeks. I don't care. I mean, but because I'm telling you the truth. Like I'm being a friend to you. If you take it that way, that's the way you take it. But we talk about women, but there's a big problem with men, man. A lot of men are every bit as against traditional masculine roles and responsibility as women are. And so that has to change too, and that's not going to change either. These simps are going to keep simping, and these these feminists are going to keep pushing back against any idea of Black male authority. It's almost disgusting to them. It's almost but it's sexy to submit to a white man.
Right, and that's why, as you were saying earlier, that you can't reward that bad behavior. I'm convinced that it's over, Gene. We knew that it was over when Kevin was here, but to see people celebrate his death, knowing that there was some simps celebrating it too, but knowing that he had a mother and a daughter. And I've always said, Gene, that theology says that even God or Yahweh himself does not rejoice in the death of the wicked. And I'm not saying Kevin Samuels was wicked, but you would have think or thought that by the way they were rejoicing that Kevin Samuels was Adolf Hitler. And God himself has no joy in seeing the wicked terminated.
Yeah.
And so why would so many people have so much vitriol? But I understand, because when I did my show on Thursday, I say it's Kevin Samuels' death, the death of the truth. And theology said, Gene, that in the last days, they will not love the truth. They don't want it. They don't love it. And they don't want to hear it. And any vestige of truth or any vestige of heteronormative masculinity will always be met under the ire of scrutiny. So that's why I tell men to love themselves. I tell men to modify their negative thoughts. I tell men, similar to what Mr. Palmer said, change the law in your mind. And when men begin to change the law in their mind and understand that there's greater later and that their health is their wealth, they will begin to become the better versions of themselves. Men got to begin to love themselves and understand that you have inherent worth. Your $50,000 does not make you less, because that $50,000 to many women in other countries will see you as being rich. $4,000 a month in many countries, you're a rich man. But sadly, in America, you got chicks that got subpar behavior, subpar bodies, and subpar attitudes. But they think that because of they have a vagina, that's all a man deserves. And it's sad, but I don't get called in mental illness, man. I just diagnose it and keep it moving. Because
you know what? When I started, you always know that things are off, because there's so much dysfunction. But what really kind of brought it like screaming home for me was when I started to see, discussions about the fact that like the average Black man makes $42,000 a year, right? The average white man makes $50,000 a year. And this is like 2021, 2022, right? And women are rejecting those men. They don't want to date those men. They don't want to marry those men. But I can remember back in the late 90s, bro, I was making $45,000 a year in the late 90s, right? And I would meet women who I wasn't good enough for them. Like as far as money, they were like, oh, we could have fun. They could have a sexual relationship with me, but they wouldn't date me. They were looking for the guy that could you know, buy the house in Westchester with the 2-car garage, and they have the 3 kids and the white picket fence, and she quits her job and becomes a stay-at-home mom. And I couldn't afford to do that. So it's like, you know, in New York is a different animal. Like, even, you know, 100,000 here is like, I don't know, 60,000. You know, 100,000 somewhere is like 60,000 here. Like, it just doesn't go as far. But it just made me realize like how delusional women are, because I was making more than what the average black man makes in the 90s. And I was still running into that mentality back then, where it was just like, we can have fun, but it can't be anything serious, because the goal. And then I want to say this, and then I'll let you jump in. Then what's funny is that years later, a lot of those women who did not want a relationship, when the high value man, which that wasn't what it was called, they were just looking for a guy who could provide a certain lifestyle. When they didn't get those men, and most of them didn't, they started to come back around and try to date and try to be in a relationship. By then, I'm like, no, you know, I had other, you know, I had some of them. I was during the time I was married, you know, but and then even after I was married, I was just like, no, you know, like I moved on. That's over with. But the delusion is just, it's been around for a long time. That's my point.
It have been around for a long time.
Because I had women rejecting me, and I was making more than what black men make now in the 90s.
In the 90s, right.
And it wasn't enough for them.
Right. And you know what, Gene, something was telling. That's why I said that, you know, there's some that say they don't know if Kevin even believed what he was actually preaching. But, you know, when you got clowns like Jamal Bryant that try to attack the man, and they try to minimize his message, you know, Creflo Dollar as well. That's why I say that even though Kevin Samuels' concept was a noble concept, from the broader context of the world and understanding religion and faith, and also politics, and also the law, every state does not more than support a binding prenup. And whereas some states do honor prenups, all states don't. And I just think it's not beneficial. It really is no benefit, because the church is broken. Listen, you cannot change the community or the nation without the spiritual foundation. And when you got the spiritual foundation fighting against a man that was telling the truth, whether he believed in the truth or not, or believed in what he was saying, then Gene, that's a problem. And that was the problem, because you had so many so-called preachers, not all, but many were fighting the message, which more or less sealed my fate and sealed the fate in the minds of many men that get married for what? I know it's hard for a lot of these men, and, you know, especially a lot of the Zennials. And I think a lot of the Zennial men don't really care, because a lot of the Zennials are saying, what is it in for them? Shout out to my man, Edward Anderson. But yeah, after that, man, I just said to myself, yeah, man, these brothers, they fight a man that's trying to unify community. But
well, they were defending their collection plate.
Right. But when I saw so many, Gene, vote for policies that were not advantageous, but a direct assault against the family, the black man, the black community, but all men and women, whether you're black or white, then I knew, Gene, it was an issue. And I say, you know, yeah, but not against it, but it was no benefit.
I believe that he believed what he was saying. And that's the thing about, you know, the people that come into the world and change it are the people that believe things that people who don't change the world don't believe. You know what I'm saying? And it's very hard to imagine someone putting forth the energy that he did. And also, you know, when you hear some of the stories of some of the things that he was offered to make more money, like he turned down because of what his vision was, what he saw, you know, happening. Like, you know, he used to brag about the number of couples, like something like 50 couples came out of that group he had called The Mix. Like he believed it. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you look at all of the people that were in that video, whether it be Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, like all of these guys believe things that most people wouldn't believe could be done. And this is what they were trying to do, the impossible, and that's what makes those people different, is like they're not limited in what they believe is possible in the way that the average person is limited, because they think whether it's grandiosity or just force of will and belief or delusion, whatever you want to call it, they believe it. Right. This guy, vegan doctor, talking all this stuff about the thing is, hey, Mr. Vegan Doctor, like, again, all these people who say all this stuff, why couldn't anyone defeat this guy's arguments face to face? Like, I don't understand, like, how you point the finger and you say all this stuff, but everybody who's come on that platform got their ass handed to them. They lost the debate. So what are you even arguing?
Well, listen, it's a matter of opinion. We're not going to go there. He got a right to his opinion, and I see your point too, Gene. I respect you, brother. But I've heard different stories.
Well, that's not a matter of opinion. Like, he literally did not lose the debate. Like, I know what you're saying.
Right.
Like, he had an opinion. This guy has an opinion. But reality is that the guy no one came on that platform and used facts, data, and statistics to debunk or deconstruct a talking point that Kevin Samuels made. Right. No one did it.
Right. But
so it's weird to me when people argue with the truth. It's not even about Kevin. You stick anybody there, whether it's you, me, or anything. Like, how do you argue against the truth? Because you don't like the mouth that is coming out of.
Yeah, it's on a deeper level. But anyway, we're going to leave that alone. But anyway, Gene, I'm going to ask you something else, man. Any other major talking points you want to talk about concerning male's physical health? I think you covered all points of topics or all points of views. I think you covered everything.
Well, physical health, man, we would be here till next week. There's so much stuff.
Right. You did an awesome job, man. The audience definitely loved you, man. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Talking about different topics. And, guys, I had Gene. I was going to bring Gene on about a year ago. I had the guy, I can't think of his name, Ronnie Davis or Ronnie somebody. He was the super dad. But I was going to bring Gene on, but Gene has a wealth of knowledge. Gene, to those that are listening that live in the state of New York, how can they reach you about getting a fitness plan? Actually, put your information in the comments so they can reach out to you.
Put my what?
Put your information in the comments so that they can get with you if they want to get into fitness and book sessions, Gene, for their physical health. So put your information in the comments so that they can reach out to you, Gene, for consultations or consulting about getting their bodies in shape.
I'm looking at the comments. I don't see where I can actually comment.
Put it in private, brother.
Oh, yeah.
Private.
I'll put it in private chat.
Yeah, put it in private chat. I'll put your information down, man.
Okay.
So that the people can get in contact with you about getting in shape. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing. You want me to do that now?
Do it now, so I can sign up because I got to eat, man. I'm tired, man.
Yeah. Okay. I feel you, brother.
All right, guys. So once again, guys, I appreciate you guys. You guys have done an awesome job tonight. This has been an excellent stream. They're way better than the one last night. Shout out to Telemate Dreams, even though I thought the show was better than advertised, but we all get caught up in things. Okay, hold tight. Did you send it, Gene, to private? Okay, here we go. All right, guys. So I'm going to put Gene's information there. You guys can check him out. You guys need a consultation, see me at coachclinician@gmail.com. And Gene, thanks again, brother. Here's Gene's information for working out. And we'll go from there, okay?
I'm very unconventional. I will tell people that don't, but I can explain why.
Okay. All right. So you guys see it. Gene Davis, IG Power and Flow. At IG _N_flow, email Gene Davis at gmail.com. Any of the ladies want to come on in less than 5 minutes? We got less than 5 minutes. I dropped the link several times. It got to be under 5 minutes. Under 5 minutes. I don't have any time for long lectures because I'm tired and I got to eat. I need to get my rest.
Brother, got to eat and rest. Health is the first wealth.
I got to get this circadian rhythm right. I can't be out here talking about health, and I'm about to pass out.
Got to practice what we preach.
I got to practice what we preach, man. So, but anyway, Gene, this has been a great one, man. I'm glad to have. Grateful to have had you on, man.
I'm glad to be on.
You did an awesome job, man, breaking it down, man. Shout out to all the guests. Shout out to all the chat. Shout out to the 71 that are watching.
Thank you for being here.
No doubt. And guys, once again, thank you for everything that you do as we seek to bring balance to the force. Gene Davis, this has been another good one. And brother, we're gonna sign off in 1, 2, 3,
all right, bro.
4, 5.
Are you a victim of brokenness and despair? A broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. Many times, many of you young men that are listening come from homes that are very toxic and very dysfunctional. And because of that, many of you have deferred your power in many ways to the point it's led over into your social life, and many times led over into your relationships. If you guys are dealing with mental health pathologies, conscious and unconscious, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's important that you deal with your mental health in order to be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, and also your community. But because mental health is often stigmatized, many of you often suffer in silence. Don't be a victim in silence. And see me once again at kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I need you guys to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And male mental health is one of those elements that's paramount to the functioning of a man. Be well. Fire for your mind. The Kosher Clinician.
Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, fake game, staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. When the truth don't work, you start telling lies. Thought you were down to ride, you weren't down to ride. Caught switching, you were picking sides. Don't blink, caught slipping like a slip and slide. I was shooting dice till I got a nosebleed. Money on the floor, can't get cold feet. Took an L, should've put it in the offering. Lord, forgive me for my sins, don't know of me. Scary thoughts, I got scary thoughts. Lost control, now I'm taking charge. Breaking bills, friends breaking off. You could be the youngest, I'm the dawn. Kiss the ring, nah. In the scene like GOT. Stay awake, don't sleep. Like Jon Snow, get R.I.P. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. Just me, myself, and I, my favorite threesome. The cars I drive by, I never lease them. They say if you can't beat them, then you join them. That's no option, I don't join, I always beat them. I was fake, you had to find me. Now I'm on beat, skating like I'm grinding. L hit me, said it's all about the timing. If you want the vision, get to spinning. My mama told me trust in God, it's never limits. Now I'm on the scoreboard, running up the digits. I put in work, you know I'm up to get it. Early bird gets the worm and the Yankee fitted. Like whoa, bags under my eyes and you know. Won't complain, I'm tired, I'm on go. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. For that grip, 10 toes till they swole. Remember those days, those L's, I couldn't sleep right now. I get paid, vacay, I'm staying B-side. Breaking the blues over steak, I gotta eat right. You could be my peace sign. I I don't need that energy around me. I just need sun, you're so cloudy. I wake up good, you're so grouchy. Please get from around me. I don't want no combo, I want you. I'm all in my so I'm alright. I was starving, now I'm eating till my belly full. From up north, we get cold, you need a heavy coat. Scared to end up on the shirt before it's centerfold. Devil on my back, target on me, deadly too. Play the keys, don't tweet. It's not peace, don't speak. 24, no sleep. This is real, no tweet. My bros for life, can't break this lane. Family on my side, baby stay around me. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want this. I'm all in my head, swear I'm a wreck. I've been moving like a hot mess. Want that combo, better know you'll need a check from me. Can pay to play, the sun that still won't get a cent from me. I mix the fit up with the side like it's a remedy. I mix it up inside the pot, watch it drip while it drop. Time to take it to the top. Chips all in the middle like it fall, no I won't flop. We gon' pop like a soda can top. To me this is nothing, call my bluff and I won't stop when I flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I want the checks, yeah. I don't want the second, I want best. I want best, yeah. By any means, that's a triple threat. A triple threat. Yeah, this is getting bigger, I might flex. I don't want no combo, I want checks. I don't want the second, I want best.